Today, we're joined by Dr. Alfonso Motta-Allen. He has a PhD in political science, is former Mexican Navy, and an expert in the geopolitics of Mexico and the maritime realm around the country. So, Dr. Allen, thank you for taking time to speak with us on our end of the year report.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Corey. Very nice to be here.
So why is there a disparity between the reporting of maritime security incidents when you look at, the Mexican media and then what's actually reported through the IMO?
Well, in order to answer this, I would say that we need to first try to understand what is going on in Mexico right now. And to me, the problem of insecurity in Mexico seas is a reflection of what is happening inland. And it has to do with a very low governance issue. So we have in Mexico a mixture of patches, developed areas interacting with social exclusion areas. What produces here is a weak institutional governance and also a very low rule of law. If we look at this problem of insecurity in the underreporting incidents in the Sea of Mexico, we need to look at this through these lenses of complexity. Otherwise, we are going to be making a mistake or simplifying the problem. To me, this underreporting, I can think at least in three factors that are intertwined. One has to do with the lack of confidence that the Mexican people has on the justice system. We are transiting through a dramatic crisis of impunity. From every 100 crimes that occur, only 6 are reported. And from 100 reported cases of crimes, only 14 are resolved. That takes us to a terrible figure of less than 1% of effectivity. So people simply think, why I bother to report if nothing is going to happen, right? So there is one important thing. Another one is the disarticulation that existed for years between the authorities that coexist in a port, meaning the Master Harbor with the Maritime Authority, the Navy, the administration of the port, and other agencies such as health and customs, for instance. There was a disarticulation, a terrible disarticulation that made these practices of reporting very difficult. Mm-hmm. Today, Mexico has been trying to resolve this problem, putting most of these organizations, these agencies, under the command of the Navy. We are seeing right now at least a light of hope, I would say, to put order in the way especially the ISPS code is being implemented now. Mm-hmm. So we can expect in the short time an important improvement in the reporting of crimes. Why is the media reporting more than the authorities? This is because it is to me a very also an important issue, because the society is actually in a way protesting and and not comfort on what's going on. So the reporting by the media is a very brave action, because Mexico is also one of the countries where exercising journalism is terribly dangerous.
Right.
So it's not about just selling the news, you know. It is really about a matter of conscience, a social conscience. And the other, I would say, the other issue is about how the facts are criminalized in Mexico. For example, armed robbery or piracy is being treated by the Navy as a regular armed robbery, assault, or attack. And this is because in 2005, the Supreme Court of Mexico ruled about an interpretation of the Constitution and saying or resolving that the Navy must exercise the rule of law within the waters over which Mexico has sovereign rights. Why happened this is because even that the Supreme Court took into consideration Article 58.2 of UNCLOS, the court gave more weight on the merit of the opportunity to combat the serious problem that Mexico has had for many years, and is related to drugs and armed trafficking. So for the Navy, is actually implementing the rule of law from the coastal line to the end of the economic exclusive zone. This is an important issue too. What happened is that the reports that's supposed to be sent to the IMO are diluted because the Navy has to report to the Attorney General, to the Federal Attorney General Office, and present the individuals involved, and the action of the Navy ends there. They cannot report because they will be violating the due process. So I would say that a technical investigation parallel to the criminal investigation of the justice authorities never was a customary role of the Navy. And the ongoing review of the ISPS code implementation now includes the development of just these kind of roles for the Navy to start a strictly technical investigation parallel to the criminal one, and to report to the IMO as the ISPS demands. So we can also expect soon, I hope, also improvement in this underreporting issue.
Let's talk a little bit about, kind of the hot zone in Mexico is the Bay of Campeche. We look at, the different, approaches and robberies and attacks and things that happen in this region as being really the biggest hotspot when you look at, Mexican waters and where there's the biggest issues. What do you think is the primary driver for these incidents and this, this primary insecurity within this region?
Well, it has a very deep roots, and it has to do also with a social problem at large in Mexico. We have problems of, I say, exclusion and inequality. And if we make this simple exercise of, having in a navigational chart and drawing or having the exclusive zones for the oil extraction activity in the Campeche zone or the south part of Mexico, And if we superpose to that chart the areas of the fisheries, we will see that they overlap perfectly.
Right.
So we need to understand that what's going on there is a problem of where interests of different actors are colliding permanently.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's more affected the sector of the fishing community, which are exactly one of the excluded population in Mexico.
What when we talk about and we provide, obviously intelligence and information to our commercial clients globally, from your opinion and experience, how would you advise, commercial operators or people who are going to be operating within this region from a security perspective? What would your advice be to them?
Well, I first will try to explain and let them know that that the problem needs to be put into a real perspective. I will say the problem that is happening in the south part of the Gulf of Mexico is not the same problem in general in the all the coastal waters of Mexico. And I say the roots are more of exclusion and social exclusion, and I say that's the root of the insecurity. So for each case, it will be different to ponder the risk. And I will say, in order to put it into perspective, they need to take into account what are the vulnerabilities, the individual or personal vulnerabilities, because most of the crimes, most of the violent armed attacks or robberies have happened in ships or vessels and platforms. I say not moving. I mean, in the anchorage areas or the stationary platforms. So every area in Mexico out of the Gulf of Campeche, of the Sonda of Campeche, is going to be different and a different risk, and they will need to be addressed accordingly. And I will also, I'm sorry, I will also want to invite them to reach out at the Navy. The Mexican Navy still is the most trusted institution in Mexico, and they are trying to do the best they can. The Navy in this administration saw its budget cut terribly by almost 90%, which really left with the resources in a very low capacity. But yet they are putting the best and doing their best to provide assistance when they are asked.
Let's talk a little bit about the Mexican Navy. Obviously, being a former Mexican Navy yourself, you have insight and experience into this. What is, now you talked a little bit about the ISPS and that implementation into the commercial ports around Mexico. What more now is the Mexican Navy doing? Again, even though their budgets have been cut, what more is the Mexican Navy doing to help provide protection in some of these higher risk areas?
Yes, in the high risk areas, for example, the southern Gulf of Mexico, they are actually trying to increase their effectivity by sending permanent patrolling in these high-risk areas, and also by deploying important resources inland for maritime police and also for intelligence. And they having very good results. we are not seeing numbers going low or lowering. And also in the ports, they actually harmonizing the obligations that all the agencies, all the institutions that interact within the port being harmonized, and also implementing technological resources in order to raise the effectiveness, operational effectiveness, but also increasing the compliance with the ISPS.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. Is there anything else that we might have missed or that you want to add about the maritime regions and some of the risk within Mexico?
I would like to take this opportunity, Corey, to say that it is important for the seamen, for the sea people, that understand that the problem in Mexico, especially in the sound of Campeche, is not a problem that's going to be solved with guns or patrols or with the force, you know. And it is very important to understand that there are other means to try to negotiate with the people that are in the right, in the natural right of the use of the resources of the sea.
Thank you, Dr. Allen, for taking the time with us to speak to us today. We really enjoyed your insight and appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.